Good afternoon. I hope there is still a little bit of energy in the room. I'm hoping to inspire you with the future of Google X. And my intention really today is to share with you some of the incredible projects that we have at Google, but also to share with you how the culture that we have backs up this innovation DNA, which makes Google Google today. So let me start by a quick raise of hands. How many of you would think today Google is an innovation engine? Quite a few. Let me follow up on that question. How many of you would see Google Enterprise as an innovation partner for your organization? Reasonable. So really, my interest is, Google's values are really centered around innovation, and some of our customers really see us as an innovation, a strategic innovative partner, which brings us to work with very interesting projects which might be leading edge in many of the industry. So my intention today, obviously, is to give you some glimpses of the future of the Google X team. Google X is the incubation engine at Google, but also to inspire you to come back to your organization and think, where are my Moonshot projects? So let me start by using one of my examples, and what is today one of my inspirations when it comes to Moonshot. So I'll wait for a few minutes before getting into the definition of what we're calling at Google Moonshot thinking. Can anyone recognize that place? Well, I hope most of you will recognize here the CERN. The CERN is the European Organization for Nuclear Research, started in 1954. I had the privilege to start my career actually as a scientist at the CERN from 94 to 96. And by then, I really meet with and listen to inspiring leaders like Tim Berners-Lee and George Charpak. What is really interesting with the CERN is, starting in 1954, the first discovery was only done 20 years later, in 1973. And 12 member states decided to invest for the long term to really build something which was unique. There was nothing which could resemble or help for them to create what the CERN is today, a multi-billion euro machine of scientific artistry. 20 years to get there, and the first discovery was the neutral currents in an experiment called the Gargamel bubble chamber. So what makes the CERN so unique? The CERN is a ring of 27 kilometers, freezing, since it's supposed to be colder than the outer space, where particles basically collide with each other, where temperatures might raise to 100,000 times what's the temperature of the CERN, all living in a vacuum where temperature might be 10 times lower than the moon. So this is basically the environment that thousands of scientists and technicians had to basically recreate or create. Hopefully, to get to the point that they could recreate the Big Bang environment and deep dive into the origins of our environment. The reason why this is my inspiration is because I've seen thousands of engineers inspired, motivated by a single mission, really trying to create and identify the smallest particles ever, and creating this machinery which could help them identify these particles. So let me get back into actually what Moonshot thinking is, and the reason why I'm showing this picture here is the Large Hadron Collider, which is one of the latest projects led by the CERN, another 20 years led project, helped them identifying the first particle which basically has mass. And this is the Higgs boson in here, being detected in 2012, 2 years later after the LHC was started. So Moonshot is basically living in the gray area. A Moonshot is living in between audacious technology, and what could be seen as science fiction. But us at Google kind of think that actually Star Trek could be reality. And this is the reason most of us really think that we could bring these innovations constantly across multiple areas. So Moonshot basically comes from the confluence of multiple factors. The first, obviously, is to identify a large problem to solve. The second is to identify a radical solution to that problem. And by radical, I mean a solution which could benefit not only to millions of users, but potentially to billions of users. The last, obviously, is to be able to leverage breakthrough technology to think that actually this solution might actually be able to be implemented, could become reality. This is really the essence of a Moonshot. Moonshot aims at solving not incremental solutions, but disruptive solutions, 10x solutions as we used to call them internally. So one of the benefits of Moonshots is actually, obviously, one, in terms of reaching a difficult objective, providing a radical solution to it. But second, a moonshot is really interesting by the unpredicted consequences it can bring and benefits it can bring. I'd like to come back for a minute to the CERN story. In 1970, so almost 20 years later after the creation of the CERN, all the member states started realizing that actually the CERN had a larger and broader impact to the society than they initially anticipated. They realized that this environment they had to create could never be replicated from anywhere, that the commercial industry did not have enough experience for them to bring that environment, and basically any single experiment that they had to do was to be built by the scientists themselves. They had to create proof of concept, they had to create prototypes out of their imagination and use the commercial industry to build some of the components of these instruments. At the same time, because the CERN was owning the responsibility of these experiments, the commercial industry started thinking that this was an opportunity for them to use cutting-edge technology in an environment to further test their products. So we've seen back and forth some relationship in between scientific research, but also benefits to the commercial industry. Let me give you some examples here. First, most of the medical imagery which is being used today in cancer detection, as an example, is leveraged from an experiment done in 1977 by two scientists at the CERN. Most of us going through cancer detection or cancer diagnosis will use some of these equipments purely leveraging this experiment. Another one, which we're all using today, is the web, and basically the advent of HTML through the work that Tim Berners-Lee had done. And the third one, which you might all experiment when you're going through the airport, all these magnetic detectors are actually leveraging some of the inventions from George Chapak in particle detectors. So that is to prove that actually research, long-term research and focus, helped creating a lot of advances in many other areas. And the catalyst of the CERN program helped developing all these different varied, multiple, and initially, not correlated in any way, all these advances benefited to this single program. But the catalyst, the focus, and the energy of motivation of many of these thousands of people helped basically providing breakthrough technologies to our humanity. The first thing for us to obviously create a moonshot or motivate people behind a moonshot is to create and define a problem, and a huge problem to solve. And this is the way for us, by defining a large objective to be solved, to verbalize the mission for millions of people. I couldn't find any better picture than this one from JFK, addressing the public at Rice University, and explaining why, when he basically set the goal for the American people to have a man set foot on the moon and return him safe home to the Earth, was an objective which wasn't to be simple, but was to be hard, because by being hard, it helped motivating, inspiring millions of people and thousands of scientists to build what was seen at that time as mission impossible. But this is really by creating this catalyst, by setting a deadline which constrains this invention and this set of innovation, that actually such moonshots could be achieved. But the first thing which has to be said is a change of culture. You've got to have people to think different. You've got to go through what we're calling internally at Google the concept of yes and. You've got to accept ideas from others and basically build from ideas of others, on top of ideas of others. You should stop thinking, well, we've got too many challenges in here, this won't work. We may have constraints which make it look like impossible. No, the whole principle for us to get into moonshot thinking is to think that actually there might be benefits in this idea, and by building on such an idea, you could ideally reach out to a much bigger, broader scope and impact. So change of mentality is really important for us. And that displays exactly the same way in enterprise. Obviously, to make it possible in the enterprise, you need as well a set of components. The first is you need to get your back saved, which means you need to get your CEO actually sponsoring these long-term innovations. You need to get a CEO who thinks that by providing disruptive solutions and impactful solutions to millions of users, there is worth for him to invest. That's component number one. The second, obviously, is you need to have people failing and failing often. And the faster you fail, the better it is for the overall process. So by this, we mean you need to encourage people to trial constantly the ideas and prototype the ideas. The sooner they can prototype, the sooner they can discover if there is room for them to invest, if actually this could be a simple failure. And from this failure, obviously, they'll learn and carry on prototyping over and over again. Second part of this culture here, which is so important. The third is, obviously, Google created this Google X entity. But the reason for us in creating Google X wasn't to generate new revenue streams like you might think. And I'll take as an example two products. Search wasn't built for us in mind to generate revenue. Advertising came afterwards once we made search successful and relevant to people. We didn't bring Street View because we wanted to provide additional money to Google. We thought of Street View because we wanted to benefit millions of users instantly, and we thought this was a certain value add to anyone browsing on Google Maps. So revenue is not the driver. Impact, being able to impact millions of users down the line is what really drive all these Moonshot products. And we believe that if we're successful at launching all these innovations, then money will come and find us. Now, at the same time, the Google X team has a rapid acceleration team or validation team. And the objective of that unit is actually to kill any projects which we think might not be a 10x project. And there are many projects, obviously, which fail at Google. Out of 100, there might be only one succeeding. But what we're very good at and very disciplined at is at killing very early on, when the teams are small, innovations which we think won't be enough impactful to millions of users. So it takes a lot of discipline, too. Now, let me get back to what makes Google Google and why people are still inspired constantly to innovate. The first, obviously, is to provide them with an environment where they feel comfortable, where they feel like they can collaborate anytime, where they feel as well that they're living in a creative world where ideas can bubble up and they can easily exchange with everyone. But that's just one part of it. Obviously, at the same time, we have to bring technology so people stay connected constantly. So the reason why we initially built Google Docs that now millions of users, and I hope most of you in this room are using, is because we realized that productivity tools at the time were only designed for an individual. They were not designed to facilitate team productivity. And what is core at Google is about team collaboration. This is the reason why initially we started with Google Docs. So we started providing real-time collaboration and editing. We have engineers sitting in all different parts of the world, and what we wanted them to do is constantly follow the CERN and keep on innovating together, but be all on to the same line. Same reason why today we're seeing so much uptake of video conferencing inside our walls. People stop calling each other. They simply start a video conference to initiate a discussion and just close some of the action points. So it's definitely transformative. And again, back to the example of the CERN, one of the reasons why Tim Berners-Lee started putting this exchange information platform on the web, but also using open standard, was exactly the same as for us. We wanted to bring Google Docs to all our engineers so they could collaborate constantly, openly, and safely. So the same paradigm of simplicity, ubiquity, and security were driving these two initiatives. Now, innovation for us is not just product innovation. You might see it from the external as product innovation stream, but innovation flows across any streams at Google. So it could be a process innovation in the same way. Let me give you a few examples in here. Obviously, our CFO, Patrick Pichette, is very keen to help bringing the organization at the same pace as the processes we might use internally. So he implemented what we're calling a bureaucracy busters, and basically asking everyone inside the organization to find ways to streamline our processes so we can go at the same pace as our customers and businesses. We're also using Google Geist, which is a yearly survey, which helps managers basically getting a free auditing of where they are. Are they good leaders? Are they good inspiring leaders? Are they innovators? Do they motivate their team to constantly look forward and basically achieve bigger than the single employees may expect? This is basically what review we're using constantly every single year. And we've got one step further. We implemented, if you have seen in the press, what we're calling the GDNA. So the Google DNA process, which allows us to provide a longitudinal understanding about how managers become successful at Google. What does make a manager successful at Google? What does keep him happy and long-term motivated and inspired? So this is a lot of different walks and streams, which basically all showcase one single interest, innovation across the board. So let me tell about back to the launch and iterate process and constant trialing and failing. Let me give you some examples here of how things went at Google. This is what we're calling basically the journey of driving. So we've been through multiple iterations in here. The first is obviously we launched Google Maps many years ago just to help you navigate across. And if you've been like me, you used to print out all these different navigations, get on your car and visit your friends. And then over time, we made it available on mobile. Then we thought we could provide Google Street View as a way for you to navigate even further and know exactly what the place looked like. As we did go through the Street View experiment, we realized that we had to build some specific equipment and a lot of cars in here, but it's been far beyond cars. We've got boats and we've got planes. And basically what we learned is, how can we record all this visual information constantly? The interest of that is actually this helped us making unprecedented associations. So when we started creating the self-driving car, some of the equipment which you can see in here on the top of the car, recording constantly the imagery, actually have been reused to provide radar information to the self-driving car. Again, the same. When it comes to ingesting large bulk of information, this is something now we're purely reusing for cloud platform technologies. So it's a lot of associations inside Google which might benefit to different businesses, but which we couldn't anticipate at first. It doesn't always go well. So this was a great example with Google Maps to self-driving cars. But it's been bumps along the way, and that's fine. There is no failure at Google. There is no individual failure. There are team learnings. And for that example, I wanted to come back to the story of social at Google. First, we provided an API called the Open Social API. And the intention for us was providing a very simple way for developers to build applications across multiple social networks. It didn't take so long until basically Facebook and others decided not to embark on this picture and provide proprietary systems and APIs. So the idea didn't float very long. What we did, though, was basically morph some of the learnings that we had gone through into another product, which we launched in fanfare in 2009 at Google I/O, which was Google Wave. It was great technically, but it wasn't really fitting the time of maturity that we expected at the time. So after basically providing a very great, what it seemed to be great, technical implementation for real-time collaboration and a new way for people to exchange information, we couldn't find any business-relevant use cases for making it relevant for the long term. So people thought this was failure. That wasn't failure. That's just an expression, again, for us to anticipate and stop projects which we don't think will have enough impact. So a year later, basically, we decided to shut down Google Wave. And we reused some of the components inside Google Buzz. Buzz was the first microblogging capability which was built in with Gmail. So basically, any contacts you add within Gmail could be reused as part of your social network or circles at that time. What we hadn't thought completely through at the time was data privacy issues, and we didn't think, like Google is, that maybe not everyone wants to share information with everyone. So what looked like a great idea, again, didn't succeed and didn't take any uptake from consumers as people received information which they were not supposed to. A great learning for us to, a couple of years later, basically launch Google Plus and receiving what is today the best support from German DPAs, data privacy authorities, in terms of how we're managing privacy within social and building up what is today the safest social network. So these are constant learnings for us in building new capabilities to our products, and hopefully you'll see many, many more examples like these in the future. We've got a constant mission. I joined 9 years ago Google, and our mission at the time was to organize the world information and making it universally useful and accessible to everyone. That was a mission which basically crystallized everyone in the company to find relevant information and to provide the quicker, the better service to most of our consumers. But over time, by going through multiple technology breakthroughs, what we created was not a single business. It was multiple businesses which are flourishing today and which are basically behind a 50 billion operations of a company having locations in multiple parts of the world. But again, don't think Google kept on its original mission. Basically, Google transformed through the use of innovative technologies to get where it is. So one of the key part of our culture and a core focus not only of the HR team, but also to all managers, is about training people to take risk. All of us have been educated in a way that makes us risk adverse. We don't want to take any risk. We don't want to fail, even less, fail often, because this shows us onto a weak side. What we learn at Google is the best way to fail and fail fast is the way for us to find breakthroughs. And this is the reason why we want to encourage everyone inside the organization to keep on trialing any of the ideas they may have. But that's not natural. And that's why we have to help managers, and we have constantly to push to reach to objectives which seems unreachable. And that's by doing so that we can get people to trial and basically come up with innovative ideas. So really the best and better for us is kind of this education that we've had for many years at school to prevent us from risk and just focus only on pure success or individual success. So let me share with you some of the examples on how this translates into the Google X incubation team that I was mentioning earlier. I've got the privilege to be a glass explorer. So what I'll share with you for the next few minutes is how all these different principles really match into the glass team. Glass was designed to change the way you're interacting with technology. We didn't feel like mobile in some way were convenient ways for you to access information and collaborate with people. It seemed still a little bit clumsy to take it from your pocket and basically interact with your team, or just look on the bus, on the train every single night, how people behave, just becoming completely antisocial and only focusing on the mobile. So we thought that there was a different way for us to help people interact with technology, information, but also to interact constantly when they need it and disappear when they don't need access to information. And the best way for us to do that was basically to provide wearable technology. And glass basically came out of these different principles. It's been a long way since we started the investment in glass. And glass is still today an R&D project. Don't expect glass to be a commercially available project sometime soon. What has been interesting for us was to see how we could basically understand, leverage some of the core components in that specific situation where you're wearing technology constantly for 8 hours a day and may want to interact with technology. So instead of making a long description of all these different use cases, I wanted you to see what several glass explorers have done using glass in the next couple of minutes. Could you please switch on the video?
Being disabled is the first thing people see. And of course, it's a big part of my reality. But it's not who I am. It's not the only thing I am. Disability doesn't define me.
2 weeks ago, I became a glass explorer. It meant I could do things I thought I wouldn't be able to do anymore. Take a picture. And that's forever.
The last time I tried to go camping was the time I was in a car accident. Okay, Glass, Google, what is a felling axe? And here I am, a year and a half later. This trip will be the first time I'm apart from a caregiver for more than just a few hours.
In 600 feet, turn left.
Glass allows me to regain that confidence. And when I overcome a challenge,
Hey, we're here!
like becoming the navigator,
That's how you did it.
I gain a little bit of that confidence I had before the accident back. And that doesn't go away.
We need marshmallow sticks. Are there bears in the Catskills? Take a picture. Being here with my friends is really meaningful. Yeah, it's awesome. Because these people have supported me and been with me the whole time. Okay, Glass, take a picture. It's been amazing to feel a sense of independence and nature with people I love. Okay, Glass, share with family. Thank you. I'm Alex Blashchuk. I'm a law student, an amateur photographer. I'm more than meets the eye.
Glass has been an interesting set of learnings for us. I was mentioning earlier a lot of unpredicted successes or topics that we discovered. Glass typically owns or basically has a few components which make it unique. The first one is a gyroscope, and as you've seen on this video, what is today the experience on your phone, a street-by-street navigation, becomes with Glass a step-by-step navigation because Glass knows exactly what I'm looking at constantly. The second point is when we tried to implement audio capabilities to Glass, we discovered we could use vibrations on your scalp to basically create a signal which was the same as the one you here is actually receiving. So this is a technology called bone conduction transducer, which glass is currently using, and which basically allows deaf people to hear what you're saying unto them. At the same time, we're using text-to-speech recognition, which helps people deaf to do searches and access to information and hear the information they're receiving. So glass is really a transformation for us. And the Glass Explorer program, which we launched a year and a half ago, has been a set of constant learnings for the team to build on the additional capabilities that glass provides. But it's not only access to information. Obviously, we had a lot of failures and a lot of discussions, and what initially looked like basically a scuba diving mask with a backpack holding your motherboard became, in 3 years of a time, smaller and smaller. One of the 3 parameters we're using in the glass team is obviously providing to you the most lightweight glass technology so you can wear it constantly. This paradigm is fundamental for us to provide a different experience to you. The second, obviously, is making it flexible. So if you wear it, if I wear it, all our faces are different, but glass will recognize when you're holding it. So one of the actually interesting features of glass is if I were to tilt my head, I'm starting glass, which is another interest of ours to help millions of users in the world. So as you can see in here, we've got smaller and smaller, and we embarked and stripped off more and more technology into glass. And you'll see constant evolutions in that paradigm. But what really glass is a new platform for you to build applications. And the applications you will see flourishing on glass have absolutely nothing to do with the ones you can tap into your mobiles these days. Glass is all about interactions. It's all about helping you interact with the environment so you can either learn or enrich your environment. But glass is also a way for you to share information with people. And you should see glass as a way for you to collaborate with people who could be remote. We've been working with the industry in a lot of use cases where actually there might be benefits for people on the field to interact with knowledge workers in the back office. Assuming we have good connectivity, these are use cases where glass can be extremely strategic and differential. So back to the history of the CERN, I wanted to share with you how the CERN looks like from one of the visits of the Glass Explorers. I had that luxury to be able to go during the shutdown. The CERN used to shut down for 3 months every single year for us to upgrade the equipment, which was the time you could go and visit the ring. So I hope you'll share in here the interest and the technology behind the CERN in itself. Could you please play the video?
I think it's back here. There it is. Would have been cool to be an astronaut.
My name is Andrew Van Heuvel. I'm a physics teacher from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Through college, I was embarrassed to tell people that I wanted to be an astronaut. It's like I want to be a princess who rides horses while being a police officer or something. It's just like, it's ridiculous.
I found my passion in teaching.
Can you say conservation of angular momentum?
I'm what you'd call a non-traditional teacher. I teach primarily online for students whose schools can't offer advanced physics courses. To be a Glass Explorer means I get to tie together all the things that are most engaging about learning, making every moment a teachable moment.
The first thing I'm planning to do with Glass is take students with me on a virtual field trip as I go to CERN in Switzerland. I'm excited to be here.
All right, here we go.
Holy cow! Wow. Okay, I'm gonna try to get my brother's class in on this.
Okay, Glass. Hang out with Ryan's class.
Wow. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Drew.
Welcome to CERN. We made it. We're here. This is the CMS.
That's incredible.
This is one of the most complex machines ever made.
Wow.
Very excited. If we want to see back to the very beginning of the universe, the only way we can do that is with a beautiful machine like this. This tunnel's 27 kilometers long.
Fewer people have ridden a bike here than have climbed Mount Everest.
Crazy.
Does anybody have any questions?
John, how long does it take a proton to travel the whole loop?
How cold do the magnets have to be superconducting?
What is that?
If you added up all the protons in this entire tunnel, it would fit into the space of just one single grain of sand.
We can say goodbye to our trusty bike here.
Bye. Thank you, Steve and Freddie. See you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, I'll see you guys when I get back in Michigan. Even though I may never go to space, I still feel like I got a chance to be an explorer here at CERN.
Unbelievable.
And while I wasn't wearing a spacesuit, at least I got to wear like, a hard hat and glass.
Woohoo! Dude, this is amazing.
Well, I wish you will have one day the opportunity to go and visit the CERN in the same way and share that information with all of us. So again, we believe innovation in the core part of our DNA, and I hope through these different slides I inspired you to really think about your own Moonshot projects, and hopefully together we'll be able to benefit to millions of users. Again, thank you very much.